What's up, everyone? This is Risk Valor. I'm your host, Alyssa. And for those who are new to the channel, this is a place for inspiration, the kick in the ass you need to pursue your full potential. And it would be nothing without the amazing, incredible women and their personal stories and anecdotes of how they got through the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, all the fun stuff, the circus of our lives. So one of those amazing women I've had the pleasure to meet in real life and is Natalia Earle. She is the podcast host of Buckle Up with Natalia Earle. She's a life coach, women's advocate, veterans advocate. She is high caliber. She has a lot of energy and she puts her heart and soul into everything that she does. So Natalia, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Alyssa. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be with your audience today.
I love it. And it's how do you like being on the other side of the podcast hosting?
I don't like it. I'm not very comfortable. I'm usually much better on the other side when I get to ask questions, but I'm getting used to it.
I know. I think I did like my first podcast. Like I was like a nobody, but there was like it's called Desk Pop Shots, and they had
Mhm.
seen me, and there was just a couple of vet guys doing like crazy things, talking about funny things. Like there was guys who would they did like YouTube Live, but it was a podcast. But they had men remake some of my modeling pictures, and whoever I had to vote on which one I thought was the best. And some of the photos they chose were interesting. So guys in bikinis, and it was hilarious. So it's definitely different being on the hosting side, but I love it.
For sure.
And I'm sure you do. So speaking on the podcast, and I know we talked a lot about the statistics between like how many episodes people have gotten to. So like tell us that what inspired you to start Buckle Up? Why did you name it that?
Mhm.
And kind of how did you get to that point where you wanted to be the voice of this?
Yeah, in 2020, when we had this little thing called COVID happening in the
Mhm.
world and the whole world was shut down, I was just starting my coaching career. And I realized how many people felt alone and how many people didn't have anybody to
Yeah.
speak to. And I believe that everybody has a story to tell, everybody has been through something. And I was so sick and tired of just celebrities having a platform and sharing their success stories or
Yeah.
telling us, oh, follow my formula and this is how I became successful. And I'm like, you don't really live in a real world because I lived in a life for a few years and I know. So yeah, and I wanted to create a platform where regular people would get to share their stories and create that safe space where people would be able to get vulnerable. And for me, I was like, tell me your dark side, right? Everybody
Yeah.
has been through something. Tell me what got you through, who helped you. Was it a community book, a course, what kind of tools? So, and I call this my selfish project. I really started it for myself. I didn't care if anybody listened. I was like, if one
Mhm.
person listens and I get to touch their life, like I'm good with it. So I call it my selfish project. And I never did it for money or fame or anything else. It was strictly for my intelligence and to help people. Because I'm such
Yeah.
a curious person. I love talking to others. I love asking questions. I love learning. So I'm like, what are some of the ways that I can do so? And then when I started researching podcasting, and I was like, I think I can do that. But I had such a hard time. It almost took me 6 months to really get it started because, I'm an immigrant and I was like, oh, I have an accent. Who's going to understand me? And who would want to listen to me? What qualifies me to carry the subject? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
You have all these like limited beliefs that came up. And I was like, you know what? After I realized that I was sabotaging my own self and I was stopping my own self, I had to stop. And what helped me is the coaching, right? Because I
Yep.
understood that there was some wiring that was coming up, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. And I'm one of those people that like if I can't identify it, but if I know it what it is, I know exactly how to fix it because I'm a
Yeah.
doer and I'll take care of it. So I signed up for a Tony Robbins seminar, UPW, and at that time he was doing it online. And I've worked with Tony a couple of times before. And I was like, let's see what comes up. And then as he starts talking and the things come up, and he had us write things down on the board, and I was able to identify everything. It's just like, it's my belief that I don't qualify. Like, why don't I believe that when I do this, this, and this, and this?
Yeah.
And same with the accent. When I first moved to this country and I was working in the restaurant industry in the corporate America, they used to have like Natalia quote board where they would write down all my like sayings,
Yeah.
crack the whip the crack. I
Yeah.
would miss things
Okay.
up. So
Yeah.
we would always like laugh about it, but it kind of stayed with me, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what if I mess up and blah, blah, blah. And then you understand the power of editing, and the beauty of this country is people love accents here.
Yeah.
They look at you and they want to know more about you. So once I wrote all of it down, and he sends you this board and you just break it, and it was like, I remember it was midnight and we were all jumping in our apartments like lunatics. My neighbors
Yeah.
probably were like, what the heck is going on in that apartment? And I take it and I go, whack, and I
Yeah.
break the board. And it was so liberating that I just didn't even look back, because what would happen to me is I would put my headphones on, hear my own voice, and I would be like,
Mhm.
nope. And I would walk away, like for months. So
Yeah.
yeah, after that, I put it on, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put one out there. And of course, I wasn't good at it. If you go back now 2.5 years later and listen to my first episode, there's so much more editing I could have done. There was so much more like shorter the episodes could have been. But this is how you learn. You learn from experience, and when you do it for the right reasons, and when you don't do it for money, I think that's when you really find your authentic voice, you find your purpose, and it took off. It found its own little voice, and 2.5 years later, I'm at coming up at 120 episodes.
Wow.
Uh, so it's been pretty good. We're globally top 10 percent globally shared podcast.
That's
We're in 37 countries. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That is amazing. And it's a feat. And I forgot to mention, you are an award-winning podcast,
Yeah, yeah.
multi-award winning. And that's an
I'm on
amazing thing.
yes, I'm on number 5 right now. We won
Yeah.
5 awards, and it's unbelievable. And it just, there is no time like the first time when you win the award. So now it
Yeah.
kind of comes, and yeah, you get excited, but it wasn't
Yeah.
like shocking, because the first time when I got the email, I remember I was in my bedroom and I'm like checking the emails, and I'm like, the t-shirt and the underwear, and I'm like, what? I won the award? What? Like, gold award? Like a gold category? What is going on? So I run outside and I talk to my mom, and my dad is on Skype, and guys, my podcast won an award. And they're like, what? I was like, I know.
That's so exciting. So tell us about Buckle Up, though, how you got to that name and what do you mean behind it?
Yeah. So again, BuckleUp concentrates on adversities and failures and what makes us
Hmm.
resilient, right? And adversities are really part of the puzzle,
Yeah.
And now that I've spoken almost to 150 people, majority of them, 99% of people tell me, I'm so glad everything that happened to me has happened to me, because you almost have to be that broken open
Yep.
to discover your true self, your inner strength, that special fire inside of you that was put in you by God. And, I was talking about it because a lot of times when you listen to the podcast, people are driving, right? So
Yeah.
the buckle up was like, okay, buckle up because it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
And the life is a bumpy road, right? It's never just all the same. And the adversities are very, very necessary. Though otherwise our life would be so boring, and we wouldn't really discover how resilient we are and how much we can do and how much is inside of us that can make us just not only grow but change the world. So that
Yeah.
was the whole thing, because I didn't want to just talk about great fun stories. I wanted to talk about the dark side, and that's where I kept telling people to grab your helmet and buckle up, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. And it has been. And there are episodes where we cry, there are episodes where we laugh. And because of my curious personality, There are a lot of episodes that I do on educational subjects like fasting, crypto, ketamine therapy, PTSD, TBI, you name it. And it's just, I love to learn. So, of course, I'm going to put it in there. And plus, I didn't want it to get too dark and heavy either.
Yeah, no, I get that. And with this platform, as you know, because I referred to you, I was tell me how do I know who I'm trying to target. I know what I'm trying to do here. Because at the end of the day, in every conversation I've had, it's like you have a friend in me now. Like it's not just an episode and
Mhm.
then that dies off. Like, no, I expect to hear from these people or to reach out to them and like we're friends now. Like that's the point, the community building piece too, because we can all humanize our experiences together. And I overuse that phrase because I think a lot of us think we're alone in something that
Right.
we're going through. Like you said, it's the climb. That's like the fun, exciting, scary, sad part of your life. But if you're not enjoying every piece of that, like the mountaintop's only going to be so pretty, but there's going to be another mountain when you're on the top of that
Right.
one, there's going to be another one in the distance.
Right. And
So
people have such a hard time with vulnerability.
yeah,
And I was one of them, right? And I really ask my guests to get vulnerable and tell me about their darkest moments. But once you create that safe space, and at times I have to get vulnerable in order
yep,
to open up my guests. But once you develop that relationship, it
hmm,
becomes a relationship, it
yeah,
becomes a friendship. You develop this network of people, and it's so important to share our stories because we're always like, oh, my story doesn't matter, I'm one of them, I always say that.
yeah,
Or who wants to hear me talk, right? But when you share that, someone else can relate to you, and someone else can say, well, I feel exactly the same way. Let me look into it. Let me see if that will help me. Let me see if I reach out to this person and somehow I can change myself or the way that I do things. And it's so important to share. And we have to learn to do that and create those spaces for one another.
I believe that. And I like safe space is important. The
Mhm.
vulnerability, self-doubt. I posted something today just about all the different fears that people have of judgment. Like, what are people going to think that I'm, whatever I'm doing? And I'm like, I'm not,
Right.
it's how I got over the speaking was I was told talk on your stories on Instagram because that's when I first started building social media was in during COVID. That seemed to be when everyone pulled out the creative hats,
Right.
or a
We
good
had
chunk of
to,
people. You had to do
right?
something.
Because
So I
we couldn't
started
do anything else.
exactly, and I was prepping for a competition, so I started talking about this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm doing on a workout. Like I just started talking. And I was talking to
Mhm.
nobody. I was talking to myself, but people
Right.
were listening, and I'm like, okay. And then I did go through a short little podcast thing where I had all this equipment and I was like, I did maybe 6 episodes, but it was very hard to schedule it and it wasn't focused and I wasn't passionate about it because it didn't make sense.
Right.
So, and now that I come back to it a couple years later, it's like my vision is there, the doubt is gone because I'm like, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, who gives a fuck? Like, I don't
Right.
it's me who has to care. I'm just putting myself out there. If people want
Right.
to listen, that's great. And the ones who do, I appreciate it. It's fun because right now I get to have, I get to learn something. Other people get to learn something. And when they pay it forward and say, hey, you should listen to this to one of their friends, and I hear the feedback, it's such a beautiful feeling of like this really
Mhm.
helped me, or it's like one piece of information that you take away like for somebody. It's a
Right.
powerful thing, and podcasts
For
are
sure.
amazing for that.
Yes. And that's why you're right. It's so important to find what you're passionate about. Because if
Yeah.
you don't know what you're talking about, and if you're trying to copy other people,
Hmm.
you won't last, right? Like people will catch that you're not authentic. You don't know what you're talking about. You're
Yeah.
overreaching and all of that. So stay true to yourself. Don't compare it to anybody else. Choose a topic that you're extremely passionate about
Yeah.
and go for it and have no expectations, because podcasting is amazing, but people have unrealistic expectations. They think that they're going to become Joe Rogan in 2 months.
Yeah.
This is why statistics are so bad, that there are over almost 3 million podcasts out there.
Yeah.
75% of them don't hit episode 9. 50% of them don't hit 75 episodes.
Wow.
So because people start it for wrong reasons.
Yeah.
If you really do it as your passion project, and you don't expect to make those millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars right
Yep.
away. And especially for me, like I'm a nobody, right? Like I'm not a celebrity, I'm not an athlete, I don't have this huge following. I'm just a regular girl next door. But I have something to say. I have
Yeah.
great network of people that we talk and share and we learn things. So you just have to understand that because of that, it's just going to take a little bit of a time. And because of I'm not willing to invite celebrities and stuff. So, what happens
Yeah.
then, overnight you can become a success, even though you've
Yeah.
been doing it for years. So the average successful podcasts, like the top successful
Yep.
podcasts, their average is like 7 years and plus. So it
Wow.
takes time, it takes
Yes.
work. So you have to at least do like it took me almost 2 years to get an award, right?
Yeah.
So just stay focused. I didn't do this for awards. It's just one of
Hmm.
my friends recommended me.
That's the
She's
plus.
yeah, she's an executive producer and she listened to my podcast and she's like, I think you have something special there and you should submit it. And because she's
Yeah.
seen my growth, right? How when I started and where I am today, and again, everything comes with experience. You get more comfortable with asking questions. You
Oh
get
yeah.
more comfortable like listening and really diving into deeper. So, especially when I edit, like sometimes I'm like, oh man, I missed a good opportunity to ask the question here. But that's
Yeah.
how you learn, that's how you learn and you just become better like anything else in life.
I love that. And this is actually like this will be the 10th episode when,
Mhm.
so to me that's like super exciting. And it's
Congratulations. That's
I know
awesome.
you get to be number 10. Woohoo. I was like, get to 10. But so I would say we're kind of in a culture where, and again,
Mhm.
this is my personal opinion, where there's a lot of trolls, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of victim mentality, people just hating out of nowhere, which we were talking earlier about. That we don't have the energy to hate. Like if I'm going to have energy, it's not going to go towards hatred because I feel like that's
Right.
such a waste of energy. So I would say, and knowing you in real life, you are one of my favorite human beings. You when you ask a question, when you give a hug, everything you do is so real. And
Yeah.
I'm just like it's coming from a genuine place.
Mhm.
So it would be hard for me to know if you ever get criticism or negativity like based on your podcast, but if you did or if you do you have an example of that or how do you conquer that? How would you help other people get over that?
Oh, absolutely. I do all the time, and I'm like you, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
very real. I can't
Hmm.
hold back. Like whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad, I will always speak up.
Yeah.
Especially like when it comes to people that I care about, I'm a lot harder on
Hmm.
them because
Yeah.
I want them to succeed, right? So there, like I interviewed Dr. Jaquish. He's incredible. He has developed the X3 resistance bands. Like he wrote a book, weightlifting is a waste of time because he teaches you about like the how muscle really builds and fails. And
Yep.
he does a lot of like fasting and he's a carnivore guy. So of course, like someone says, oh, this guy's just a narcissist, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one says, oh, like uh, someone else wrote to me on Instagram, you need to keep your guests focused more, or they were all over the place, or something like that. And I appreciate the feedback, So how do I handle it? I just said, thank you so much for reaching out, and thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for your feedback. Will definitely do. And that was it. And that person probably
Yeah.
never even expected me to answer back, right?
Yeah.
And then when someone comments about my guests and if they're narcissists or whatever, I don't even respond. I don't because I
Yep.
don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Once you I almost don't give them a stage, right? Don't
Yeah.
give them opportunity to go back and forth and because to me it doesn't matter. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be for everyone, and I've known this, and everybody has to understand that. Once you put yourself out there in public,
Yep.
you become a public person. So you're open for both good and bad, right? For negative and
Yep.
positive comments. And you have to be able to handle both.
Yep.
If that is going to affect you, then you will fail, because everybody will have something to say about something. Especially us humans, we love to ruin beautiful things. This is why I don't share anything when I'm working on a
Yep.
project or I'm doing stuff, because people love to get in your head and give you unsolicited feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like I didn't ask for this. And always watch where the comment is coming from. Always watch where the advice is coming from.
Yep.
Because if someone is better than you, if someone is more successful than you, they will never put you down. And if
Yep.
someone is below you, then their opinion just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
To me, this is how
That's
I
true.
look at it personally, you know, and because I'm a Christian and because I believe in God, I always try to lead with compassion. And I haven't been like this always. I was a
Hmm.
very strong and unkind leader before, and led with a lot of like force and no emotions. I was more like left brain and logical person, type of a person
Yep.
that's like, oh, there's no crying in baseball. Come on, get your shit together. Why are we crying? Let's just do it. Like,
Yeah.
don't make me come up to you and insult you, type of a thing, you know? Which
Yeah.
made sense in my head. But going through coaching and going through the life lessons that life has taught me, I realized that everybody's dealing with something that we don't know about. And everybody is acting the way that they are because they're dealing with something, they're hurting, they're dealing with traumas. So instead of judging, now I've learned to ask questions and be a lot more compassionate. And it's amazing how it changed everything. So I try to catch myself when I'm
Yeah.
about to make that judgment and just say, okay, something's not right here. Let me ask more questions and let me dig in deeper. And then I just kind of, you know, take it from there.
Yeah. And that's really valuable too. I mean, it's like this, like what someone's going through is like, let's say it's
Mm,
this much stuff. What we know about it, or
right,
what we think we know about it is minute compared to that. And that goes both ways, just like people don't know everything that we're going through or what we're trying to accomplish. Um,
right.
so I think it's very important to lead with compassion, like you said. And that's something that I've had to learn as well, because I've always been quick wit, or, quick with the mouth action, like I'll,
Judgment. Yeah.
because I'm like, or attack, or just defensive. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something over years of being self-aware and just being like, okay, this is an issue. Like, think before you speak. Emotional intelligence, which I'm seeing more and more people talk about emotional intelligence, which is an exciting thing. I know when I was leaving the military, and I was recommended a list of books when you join corporate America. You need to read this, and I love reading. So of course I was
Right.
like, I need to read every single one of these, and I was just reading books after books. And one of them was emotional intelligence, and I took the test,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, it was scarily accurate. And it's those things that you don't want to face at
Right.
first, because you're almost like defensive. You're like, that's not true. Like, inside, but I'm like, okay, everyone knows, God knows. Like, he's like, yep, that's you. He's like,
Yep.
let's work on this, so, and it's just communication too with other people. But it's just such a strange culture we're in. But the more we can get people on the same page, or at least doing the same, just being compassionate towards other situations, or compassionate towards someone's vision or dream, is so important, because it's important to us, and it's like, at the
Right.
end of the day, if you're, like you said, doing things for the right reasons, out of a genuine place and a genuine desire to either instruct, educate, uh, what is it, inspire, anything like that, it's important that just, I think the good things will come. If you're attracting good, you're going to attract good
Right.
things.
For
So
sure. And then when it comes to something that I'm passionate about or people that I care, I might get hot, about
yeah.
the comment or something that was said. And that's why I've learned to sit on it, whether it's like a few days or a week. It depends how long I need it. But till I have that emotion, I always stay away, because I want to make sure that I don't say things that I wouldn't really want to say or I regret later. So I've learned to just like, okay, like you're gonna walk away from it now and go back to it when you're ready to have that conversation. And it's so much better.
So what I wanted to move to next
Hmm.
is the amount of life coaching that you do, and maybe even, I don't want to say unsolicited, but the other advice that you give people just for fun, you still work on yourself. So how do you
Mhm.
differentiate between like that personal growth and professional growth? That balance. How do you strike that balance?
I love to learn a lot. So
Mhm.
I always read because
Yep.
one thing that I've learned in my older age is I know that I know nothing.
Yep.
No matter how much you think you know, you really don't know.
Yep.
So to continue to learn and to develop is crucial. And it's also very, very important to have right who's in your life that will make you grow, because what got you here today won't get you there tomorrow. And I've
Yep.
learned that because when you grow, you are going to need different, whether it's books or coaching or different mentors to move you forward. So it's very important to not stop developing yourself, not to stop watering yourself, and not to stop challenging yourself.
Yep.
And I've also learned that I love to be uncomfortable, because when I'm uncomfortable, that's when I'm most successful.
Yep.
And once I get comfortable, I leave. I change my careers, it seems like every 10 years, because now I'm like, okay, if I know everything and I'm
Yeah.
not growing, I don't like it. I
Yeah.
don't like when I am a smartest person in the room. I don't like it. I want to be around people that will continually teach me, give me, and water me too, right? And push me forward. So that's very important, to work on your personal development all the time. And like every coach needs a coach,
Yep.
because then you set up higher goals. And I'm a type of a coach that I say there are coaches that are kindergarten coaches, and then there are high school coaches, and there are college coaches, right? I'm more of a
Mhm.
like a high school or a college coach, because I'm not that patient. I don't know, maybe patient is not a right word, but I'm not that person that can put you through the kindergarten, meaning give you the basics, give you the foundation. I'm more of a person that, okay, I'm successful, but I still don't feel fulfilled. What am I missing? And I love to work with people that are doers, that are already so successful, but they still want to grow. They still want to try and do different things. And they just need someone to have that professional conversation with, because the higher you go in corporate America, the lonelier it gets.
Yeah.
Because you can't talk to your peers, you can't talk to your superiors, because there's a constant judgment. So that's why now I love that a lot of corporate um, companies are giving that extra funding for executives to have coaches, and to have that outside person that they can talk to. And it's so important, because we don't want to stop growing, right?
Yeah.
Always want to move forward. And to me, my personal growth is so important. And that's why, like, I'm doing like 4 different jobs right now, because
Yeah.
I just love a good challenge. And I ended up on a board of a wonderful nonprofit
Yep.
organization, and that's a whole other side that I'm learning so much about nonprofits that I don't know about, but I love to learn, and I love to see what I can do, and that's where, like, if I take on a project and if I
Mhm.
become part of an organization, I'm not gonna give 50%, I'm gonna give 150%. And
Yeah.
if I can't do that, then I won't take that on, period, you know?
Yeah, that's that's great insight. And I think that's something that I can associate myself with. Like I'm starting
Mhm.
to get kind of like, all right, I'm a little bored with my job. Or like sometimes I get like even where you live, if you live, I've lived, this is the longest I've been in a place, because when I was in the military I moved every 2 years. Now I'm at like 4 years. I'm like, this is the longest I've been somewhere other than being a kid wherever my parents were.
Right.
So I'm starting to get like a little antsy with everything in my life. I'm at that. And because we talked about, I cried about it. I was like, I'm just at this weird point where I'm like, I know change has to happen, because that's what I like. I thrive
Mhm.
in that, which is why I thrived in the military, is because it was constantly just go, 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 go. And it was a lot of high level thinking. Your job changed every year or two. It was new information. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, I know it's just a day after day, same, same o, and I'm like,
Right.
and that kind of gets, it, it gets hard to, you give 150%, but it's almost like not 150% because it's so easy. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
have more to give. That's where
Routine
I'm
is
at.
terrible for me. Yeah, like when that
Yeah,
job becomes a routine and mindless, oh, it's like kill me right now. You know what I mean? I
literally.
need to think. I need to use my brain cells. I need to use my emotion. I need to use my people skills, right? So
Yes.
I'm sure you feel the same way, but you have to learn to give up what you hate because you can have anything you want in life. You just have to learn to give up what you
Yep.
hate. And at times it's very hard for us because we have responsibilities, whether
Yes.
we have children or family or things to support, and we think and we believe that we can't do it. But then God comes in and says, well, guess what? I'm going to make you feel very uncomfortable so you move. That's
Yeah.
how it works. And
Yeah.
that's when adversities happen, right? And we're like,
Yep.
but why me, God? Why me? And he's like,
Yeah.
because you didn't move. And this is
Yeah.
not what I created you for.
Yeah. You need to listen. You have to take the wheel. You have to give the wheel up. And
Right,
that's the place I'm at now, is just like letting him take the wheel. Because I'm
right,
like, I know that there's something around the corner. There's a door that's about to open. But that's why I also started doing the podcast. Because I'm like, now it's making my brain work. I'm learning how to edit. I'm learning like the LinkedIn thing. I've been on LinkedIn, but I always thought it was just like how you find jobs. It's not. And I talked about this on an episode previous to this, where LinkedIn, you can be a creator. You create
mhm,
content. It's another great place for clientele. So I'm learning that algorithm, which is very different than the Instagram that I was used to. And there's Facebook, there's this, there's that, and it's like it's
so
crazy.
many,
So I'm learning
yeah,
LinkedIn right now. And I'm like, now my brain is like, I'm on Canva all the time, like developing different things and like creating different posts and using AI, becoming familiar with AI. It's
such
just,
a powerful tool too,
it
yeah,
really is. And there's so much out there. It's not just Chat GPT. I mean, there's AI for everything.
mhm,
And I think just learning that, reading on it, listening to podcasts, like I'm trying to fill that gap right now with knowledge. I'm like, because I
right,
need my cogs need to be turning. I need to be oiling the wheels and everything, or I'm just gonna like just kill me, literally. Like
yeah,
smite
yeah.
me. Like
And once you
yeah.
realize as a human that on this earth, no one's coming to save you.
No.
So you are in charge of your own life. And that's one of
Yeah.
the biggest gifts that God has gifted us, free will, right?
Yep.
Says either you're with me or you're not. Either you're going to do this or you're not. You get to choose what you're going to wear every day. You get to choose what you're going to represent every day. You get to
Mm-hmm.
choose what you want to say every day, how you want to look every day. So it's so beautiful, but we take advantage of that and we love to get stuck in that um victim mentality where it's just like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Well,
The only
it's
one.
you and everybody else, right? It's
Yep.
happening to everybody else as well. It's just some people don't show it or don't talk about it or they have control over it. So it's just important to understand and look within you because us as females also we
Mm-hmm.
forget to put our needs first because
Yes.
we become wives and moms first and it becomes about other people. But if
Yep.
your cup is not full, you can't give, period. And when you're a leader or when you're like single mom and when you're a head of a household, if you crumble, everything else crumbles, right?
Yep.
So that's why it's so important to water yourself first, to give yourself that. There's a fine line, right? Like between that and selfishness
Yeah.
and we have to understand that as women, like self-love is not selfish. You have to love yourself enough to allow that time of recharging and
Yep.
relearning and doing things that you like as well too, and that's okay.
Self-love is necessary. And it's
Mhm.
and I touch on this a lot too, is just it's everywhere. Like I see it more often because I think there's a mental health
Right,
crisis, you can say, right now. And that might be with the addition of social media and all these other things happening. A lot of different stress that we didn't have back when there wasn't technology, different
right.
kind of stress. but it's stress nonetheless. You know, this is the century we're living in, and we had no control over that. So we're dealing with things as they go. But it's, I think self-love, I see it everywhere, but I'm like, how many people truly do like love themselves and actually work on it? Like I read books on it, you know, because it's
Right.
like whatever. I want to know what my tendencies are. I want to know what my sabotage, like my self-sabotage is, because I want to know how to conquer it, because I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to like, woe is
Right.
me and cry all the time. I want to cry like one time. Like they say, give yourself 5 minutes to be sad and then get up and
Yeah.
do something about it.
Exactly.
Like,
Have a good cry and then come up
and
with an
then
action plan.
yeah, and then forget about it and laugh. I don't know. Like that's what I do. Like when I'm like really upset, I have to laugh. I have to find something funny. I'm like,
Mm,
okay, let's go to the gym, let's crush weights, let's do something to get the bad juju out. Like let's get that out. Like whatever, feel it, feel your emotions, but then do something about it. But
right.
as women, I know you touched on, you know, females in general, like taking on these other roles in their life, moms, wives, girlfriend, whatever it is. We do tend to put ourselves last, at least I would say a majority of us. Again, I don't know statistics, but as a community, like this platform, and your platform is all kinds of people and different stories. But for women specifically, how do you think we can build each other up better? What would you suggest to make the community stronger?
First of all, we need to stop comparing
Mm,
ourselves to one another. For
yeah,
crying out loud, stop
yeah,
doing that. You know, like how many times there has been a moment where you walk in the room and you get looked at and sized up right away, right? Like
yeah,
right away, someone feels threatened by you. Confidence. Everybody has to have more confidence. When you walk into the room, it's not that you're comparing
yep,
to others. No, confidence is like when you don't compare yourself to anybody else. You walk in, you know what you bring to the table. You
yep,
don't have to know everything. When I don't know something, I'm the first one to say I don't know.
yeah,
But let me find out, or I'll ask someone that does know.
yeah,
And it's okay to not to know. So show up, concentrate on your strength, not on your weaknesses, and say, this is what I bring to the table, and then look at other women. And a lot of times it's also like cultural, because I live in Miami and I see a lot of different cultures here, and Latin culture is so different than American culture. And then you have, you know, the Russians and Eastern Europeans, and everybody's culture is very different. Like in Europe where I grew up, men and women can be friends.
yep,
In Latin culture, it's just like men and women cannot be friends. You know, in
yeah,
American culture, in the Midwest, they can be friends, but here it's kind of weird, you know, just for
yeah,
as an example, right?
yeah,
So everybody kind of goes into this situation just because of the background and upbringing they have, or the experience they have. So everyone kind of looks through different glasses and has different opinions about things just because of their wiring. And sometimes it's like generational information that gets passed down to us like over and over again of bullshit. You know what I
yep,
mean? So, women need to understand that we are all special. God has put something inside all of us that's very different, very special. Concentrate on that. Support each other, because we were built to be in a community. You know,
yep,
first was Adam, then there was Eve, right? Like there
yep,
was a reason for people to be together. We are social creatures. And because we live in social media hyper driven world, loneliness is an issue right now. And social media is an illusion, right? It's
yeah,
not a reality. And you don't go on vacations all the time, or you're not on the beach all the time, you know? And
yeah,
just to understand that women need to stick together, they need to support each other, they need to promote each other, they need to help each other. Again, to have those right who's in your life will progress you so much faster, instead of like being threatened and holding the information. I never do that, because I believe there are enough jobs for everyone, there are enough clients for everyone, there is enough money for everyone on this planet. God knows what he's doing.
yeah.
So just support and love each other and push each other. And I think things would be so much easier, you know?
I think so. I love that. I just love hearing, you know, that's why I have the people that I have on here, because they're already self-aware of that. They're aware that, you know, there's enough pie for everyone to, you know, get a slice. you know, and whether it's whether I think it starts with the intentions first of what you're trying to do. And yeah, I just don't like that feeling of like, well, I can't ask this girl to be on my, because I've had people who straight up like didn't respond to being on it, which is fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It's more just like, what's the reasoning of just saying no thanks? Like, why can't we
Right.
even just do that? Why can't we just acknowledge? I think acknowledgement is like huge. If you're gonna read something and I can see that you read it, I'm
Yeah.
like, well,
But when
damn.
you get there, that you understand that
Yeah.
their behavior is not about you and it's
No.
about them, it's a game changer. This is why I don't
Yep.
react to it anymore. I used to. It used to bother me. Well, why
Yeah.
can't people just be like this and why can't they just do
Yeah.
like that?
Can't control. Yeah.
And yeah, now I understand that it has nothing to do with me. It has to do everything with them. And sometimes, people will show up that I don't like their energy. I don't like what they stand for. And I
Yep.
have to learn to have those boundaries and just to say no. Like, I am protecting my healthy environment, I'm protecting my beliefs. And that's it. I mean, I don't hate you, but I don't need to be with you or associate with you or be
Yeah.
friends. But I will always help you, right? But there is a difference there.
And energy is such a commodity. I would say like
Mhm.
it's, you know, for like energy is priceless. I mean, your time and energy, putting it into things that are going to give back, or not that always give back, but it's just if it's a dead end or not good energy you're trying to pour into something that doesn't want to be poured into. Yeah, it's could be detrimental to yourself, and it's a waste of time. And I'm like I hate wasted time, like on
No.
all
Yeah.
kinds of wasted time.
Because once you understand how
Yeah.
precious time
Yes,
is, it changes everything.
it does.
Yeah, and now I just ask people too when they ask for my advice or an opinion, and I always say, "Why are you asking me? Are you
Yep.
asking me because you truly want to know my opinion and what I think about it, or
Yep.
are you looking for a validation?" Once you
uh
learn that,
mm-hmm.
it's a game changer because a lot of times they just want a validation. They don't want to hear your opinion.
Yeah.
When you don't give the validation, that's where women become even more defensive or they think you're judging them because they still want to do what they want to do. Like, no, I don't care. Don't wake up in your shoes. That doesn't affect me. Why are you even asking me? Like I had friends that just love to do that, like make you talk for no reason. And I'm tired of that. I refuse to do that now,
Yeah,
you
and I
know?
don't think there's a fear of non-validation, but there probably could be one, because I feel like there is a fear of like needing to be validated, whether it's in the social media world or as a professional or as look at me, I'm such a great wife or a great like whatever I am. It's like what at the end of the day, you just got to validate your damn self, because I mean
Yep.
it's
That's
your
all that
life.
matters.
It's so short. It's life is so short, and like the more days that go on and stupid things that I used to get tied up in and lost in, I'm like, that's so much time and energy I could have been putting into, X, Y, and Z myself. That could be relationships or a job. It's just like
100%.
all that energy. But I had fun talking to you. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it's always a pleasure. And I love the insight that you have. Anyone trying to start a podcast, like, please listen to Buckle Up. It's amazing. So many different people. And I know you have like a diverse background of like, you touched on it a little bit, but I know it like you even get a little freaky with some of the people. You know what I mean? Like, we talk about
Yeah.
like all kinds of things. And like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's a safe
No.
space, like you said.
I
So
wanna know what makes you swing.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you
What
told me that, I
tickles
was
your
like, damn.
pickle?
Yeah. And I love that. It's safe for people to just be themselves in that vulnerability. But I wanted to thank you, Natalia, for hopping on Risk Valor. It's been an absolute pleasure. Let everyone know where they can find you and your podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It
Of
was
course.
an absolute honor and pleasure to be here with you. It's Natalia Earle on all platforms, and even if you look up the Buckle Up podcast, it's the easiest way to do so is by just typing in my name, Natalia Earle, and then the Facebook is then Natalia Earle. And yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere on social.
She is, everyone. You don't want to miss it either. It's exciting. I love it. But thank you so much for coming on. And for everyone out there, great episode. Go back, take some notes, but be adaptable, be reckless, and we're going to send it every Friday.